Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Shai, double honors to the apostles, elders of Great Millstone, that rule well, that taught us truth, and blessings to the elect. This is Brother Yakao, coming with another lesson, short lesson, and Lord willing, it will be edifying. Now, in this truth, you're going to go through a hell of a lot of things, alright? And we have to be our brother's keeper. We have to be the opposite of what Cain was. Alright? Okay. Because in this truth, the elect and nation of Israel are going to catch hell. Okay. Now if you go to Genesis 4:9, then we know about the story of Cain and Abel. Alright. What was Cain's response? Talking about his brother. Okay, he said, am I my brother's keeper? Okay, we have to be the opposite of that. We have to be our brother's keeper. We have to let brotherly love continue. Okay, because many things are going to happen when you come into this truth. Things are going to get a lot harder. Okay, this is Genesis 4:8. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. So he killed him. Okay. Verse 9. And the Lord came unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? Question mark. What was his response? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Okay. Cain was like, why, more or less, he was like, why are you asking me for? Am I my brother's keeper? Or am I my brother's guardian? Okay. And that's a wicked seed. He's from the line of the wicked. So we have to be the opposite. We have to be our brother's keeper. All right? Because the Bible tells you what? All right. That there's going to be many afflictions. Okay? When you come into this truth. All right? But the Lord is going to deliver his elect out of all these afflictions. This is Psalms 34:19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous. So many are the afflictions of the righteous. Alright. But the Lord, Yahweh, alright, delivereth him out of all of them. Okay. So the Lord delivers, puts afflictions on his men. Alright. His elect men. Alright. But he also delivers them from the affliction as well. And many ways to basically come out of that affliction, all right, or deliver from that affliction is through the brotherhood, all right. So catching hell is a normal thing in this truth, all right, but that can be counteracted by the brotherhood and doing the opposite of what Cain did, saying, "Am I my brother's keeper?" No, you're supposed to be your brother's keeper, all right. Now the word counteracted. Alright, so when you catch hell, it can be counteracted by the brotherhood. Okay, so counteracted, alright, is the past tense of counteract, meaning to neutralize, offset, or reduce the negative effects of something by acting in opposition. Alright, it implies taking action to prevent, reverse, or cancel out an unwanted influence or force. Okay, so we can counteract that. All right, whatever brothers and the few sisters that in his truth going through, all right, by being our brother's keeper and let brotherly love continue. Okay, and it's very important because we all go through it, and I've got plenty of examples of myself. A couple of years ago, I already had a what's it called, an artificial hip, but I fell in my apartment and I broke it, and it was undiagnosed for months. I was in agony every day, but when finally the hospital found out, they did an operation, and I was very grateful because when the doctor, well, it was a nurse that saw it, I went to an appointment, and I was on crutches, and she went, "That looks painful." I said, "Yeah." I think I pulled a muscle. And then she said, no, it's worse than that. And then she put me into the office. They did an x-ray and it showed that my hip was broken in pieces, you know. And the doctor had mercy on me, all right, through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shai, because he controls people, and said, listen, you know, you've gone through a lot. Come next week and we'll do emergency surgery. And that was a blessing. And I was in hospital for 3 weeks. And it was very difficult, man, because the first few days I was in a lot of pain, you know. But when I was in hospital, just simple things like the brotherhood, many of the brothers came to visit me and brought me food, you know. And that was something that really I needed, because the food in there is crap, you know. Some of the nurses that were on duty were terrible. Most of them were good, but a couple of them were wicked. You know what I mean? You know, so just the brotherhood doing that, it really helped me, you know what I mean, through that time. And that's what we have to do, okay? All right, so here's a few. So catching hell can be counteracted, all right, by the brotherhood, all right, being your brother's keeper, all right? Let's see here, I've got one here, all right? This is Proverbs 17:17. A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. See? All right, adversity, man. Okay, so, and it could be many forms. It could be financially. You could help the brother out. It doesn't even have to be financial. You know what I mean? You might have stuff that you have. I know Apostle Kabal said this years ago. You know, a brother might need, you know, like trainers or shoes or clothes or whatever, and you have some that you don't use, you know, you don't want, and you can give it to that brother, you know. All right, that's a beautiful thing. That's what the brotherhood's about. So, you know, a brother is born for adversity. So while we go through all this adversity in this truth, the brotherhood is very important. All right, okay, it's very important. Let me see here. All right, there you go. This is 1 Corinthians 13:2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all the knowledge, all right, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. So we have to be charitable in this truth in the brotherhood, and that alleviates, that counteracts the hell that we catch when the brotherhood helps each other out. So you can know scriptures, you can know history of the Bible, you can know precepts, this, that, and the other, but if you're not charitable, you're nothing. Okay? Okay? And our best example is Yahweh Shai. Okay? So these many afflictions which the righteous go through can be counteracted via being a brother. All right? When you are going through adversity. Okay? All right? It's very important. All right? And so it's very important to what? Hebrews 13:1. Let brotherly love continue. Okay? Because the more we go down the road of prophecy and we're reaching, you know, we're in those end times, you know what? Things are going to get a lot worse. You know what I mean? And when Jacob's trouble happens, you don't know. You might be, you know, on the run with a brother. You might be, you know, paired up with a brother, you know, because we're not going to just sit in our houses and wait for the, the militarized police to come and arrest us. All right? We're going to be like pilgrims on the earth. So we have to put these things into practice now with the brotherhood, all right, by showing charity, okay? And charity does what? It covers what? A multitude of sins, all right? Sin, yeah, there you go. See this one. St. Peter's, that's it. 1 Peter. All right. It's very important, man, because, you know what I mean, at the end of the day, all right, it's a test, you know. And if you can't be charitable towards your brother in this truth, then you're not really in this truth. All right, because money's nothing to us, man. Money's not. Money is just a means of exchange for goods and services. Sometimes you have a lot of it, you know. Sometimes you have do like it says in the Lord's Prayer. Give us this day what? Our daily bread. All right. So your brother might not have, you know, enough to have a daily bread. So that's where the brotherhood steps in, man. Okay. This is First Peter 4:7. But the end of all things are at hand. Okay. And we are in these end times. So be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. All right. And we're supposed to pray like it says in Psalms 3 times a day. Very important. When you get up in the morning or whenever you get up, pray to the Heavenly Father. All right. All right. Through His Son. You know. And then a few hours later, you can pray again. And then before you go to bed, pray again 3 times a day. All right. Verse 8. And above all things, it says above all things, have fervent charity among yourselves. See? Among who? Among the elect. Okay. So that is a indicator of a member of the elect, that they're going to be charitable. If you're stingy and tight, but you know what I mean, especially when you've got a lot of money, that's not a good sign, man. And believe me, you know, I won't go into it, but we've had people that were in this truth, all right, amongst the brotherhood, and they were tight with money and so forth, not helping, you know, when brothers were down, etc. And where are they now? They're not in the truth. The Lord took the Holy Spirit away from them. So they went off the elect. All right. So it says in verse 8, and above all things have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. All right. Okay. So charity is very important. All right. And charity, if you look up the word charity here, and it's in the Greek, all right, it's agape. Okay.
Strong's G26, agape.
Yeah.
Agape.
See, agape, which means affection, goodwill, love, benevolence, brotherly love. There you go, brotherly love. Okay. So that's what we have to do, man, because, you know, times are hard, man. Okay. It ain't easy being here in the West, especially now with all this Iran stuff and prices are going up, etc. You know, brothers could be sick or whatever, you know. And one of the things, you know, it said is, what does it say here? All right, in verse 7, it says, and watch unto prayer. So prayer is very important. All right. And that's one of the biggest things you can do for a brother is pray for the situation. All right. Okay. But actively doing something as well, man. If you can. Okay. Faith without works is what? It's dead. All right. Okay. Now this is Sirach 19 and 14. Admonish thy friend. Admonish means to warn. It may be he have not said it. So if you have a problem, well, you know, and the other thing is this business of going back and forth and you know, whispering, you know, against brothers, you know, if you feel brothers offended you, that's all demons, man. All right. That's a demonic spirit that is in the camp if that's happening. All right. Okay. If you have a problem with brother, you go to him. All right. You don't start talking behind back and all that stuff, because what does that do? What's it called? Fractures the brotherhood. All right. So admonish thy friend. It may be he have not said it. Okay. Admonish means to warn. And if he have, that he speak it not again. So if you got a problem with a brother, you go to him one towards another. You know what I mean? You don't start doing all this whispering and tale bearing and all this kind of stuff. All that causes what? Confusion. And the Lord is not the author of confusion. Okay? All right? Verse 15, admonish a friend. Admonish means to warn. For many times it is a slander, and believe not every tale. Yeah, so that goes back to tale-bearing. All right? Because all that fractures the brotherhood. Okay? And that's not having brotherly love. Okay? We have to let brotherly love continue, especially in these last days. Okay? All right? And this is Sirach again. All right, in the Apocrypha. All right, 22 and 23. All right, be faithful to thy neighbor in his poverty. See, there you go. All right. See, this is why the actions of the brotherhood, brotherly love, all right, is very important, because that counteracts catching hell. You alleviate a brother's suffering. All right, be faithful to thy neighbor in his poverty. All right, that thou mayest rejoice in his prosperity. Abide steadfast unto him in the time of his trouble. And we all go through a time of trouble, and we're all coming into Jacob's trouble, which is going to be like hell on earth. So this is practice. Remember, in the kingdom, the elect is going to be like, you know, the governing body, all right, under Yahushai. So this is practice for us, all right. If you can't do these things now, how are you going to do things like that in the kingdom? Okay. So abide steadfast. Oops, put this away. Abide steadfast unto him in the time of his trouble. All right, that thou mayest be here with him in his heritage. All right, for a mean estate is not always to be contempt, nor the rich that is foolish to be had in admiration. Okay, because in this world, that's what they look at. They look at, in this world, especially us as a people, if it was like Jay-Z or 50 Cent going out and teaching the word on the street every Saturday, every weekend, or whatever like that, our people would listen because they're rich and they're famous. All right, the Lord is not looking for that, man. All right, He's looking for people with a contrite heart. All right, and people that have brotherly love, the opposite of what Cain had. All right, okay, so that's very important. And these are measuring sticks, all right, for the elect, okay, because the elect is going to embody these things that the scriptures say. All right, when a brother is catching hell, oh yeah, I'm just going to pray for you, brother. I'm going to get kicked out of my flat. Oh yeah, I'll pray for you. Oh yeah, well, all right, you pray for the brother, but why don't, can you do something, tangible? Get money together, do a collection. Yeah, prayer is important. All right, but if there's actions you can do to alleviate a brother's suffering, why not do that? Okay. All right, this is 1 John 4 and 20. If a man say, I love the Most High, and hate of his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother, whom he have seen, all right, how can he love the Most High, whom he have not seen? That's deep, very deep, and that's so true. All right, so we have to do these things, because right now this is a rehearsal, and that's what we have to do. All right, one more scripture, I'll bring it to a close. All right, we have to rehearse the righteous acts, and a part of the righteous acts is to have charity and love for your brother, to help them. All right, okay. It's all practice. All right, this is Judges 5. Because remember, we're still in captivity, man. All right, this is Judges 5 and 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the place of drawing water, and the noise of archers is when them nuclear missiles are going to hit America. All right, so we're still in our captivity. That's not happened yet, has it? All right, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. All right, so we have to rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and we have to let brotherly love continue, and that brotherly love can counteract All right, catching the hell that we catch in this truth is very important. So listen, I pray you're edified. Until the next lesson, shalom.